This one here is definitely a hidden gem. Doesn't get talked about as much as it should. It's kind of overshadowed for other movies that Jamie Lee Curtis was in, most notably Halloween. But it is pretty damn good, and it is a movie that at the end of it, when I saw it as a kid, I was like, oh, damn. Welcome to another episode of the Popcorn Confessional. This is Dave from Nerdbox, and I am accompanied by my wife, Jen, also from Nerdbox. And on this episode, during the 31 days of Halloween, we are talking about Prom Night. Not the remake crap, but the original. So fire up that Jiffy Pop and meet us in the booth.
Several years after the tragic death of a girl during a game of hide-and-seek that could be a campaign ad against bullying today, the surviving kids involved are now preparing to graduate high school. While they may have forgotten what had happened years before, someone hasn't and is killing them off one by one.
This is probably the first slasher movie that I saw as a kid. Not the first horror movie, because that's either The Thing or American Werewolf in London. Don't ask. But I saw this on TV. And as I mentioned in the opening, I did feel bad for the antagonist by the end. Now, we have Robin's death, who is the little girl in the beginning of the movie that is linked to a sexual predator in this movie. And having revisited it, I was like, wow, that's kind of pretty heavy to call out in a movie back then, right?
Yeah, when does it come out? 80, 81?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was some undertones of pedophilia in there.
Mm-hmm.
That they were discussing as well. Now, that person escapes from prison or the mental ward where he's at 6 years later. And the students are receiving strange phone calls and ominous pictures taped to their locker with pieces of glass right around their neck, depicting that possibly somebody is targeting them, or maybe it's a practical joke.
That's a horrible practical joke.
It is the 80s.
That's true.
Now, this film stars Jamie Lee Curtis. This is one of the ones that are tied to her getting her Scream Queen title. And it also features Leslie Nielsen from a boatload of movies, but many people may know him from The Naked Gun.
Yeah, and he's Jamie Lee's dad and also the school principal.
Mm-hmm. The only thing that is a little confusing to me is the ages of the characters, because Jamie Lee Curtis is the sister or a triplet to the person that passed away, which is Robin.
No, she's not a triplet. That's where you're lost, I think.
Okay, I wasn't paying attention.
There was 3 kids in the family.
Mm-hmm.
There's Kimberly, who's Jamie Lee Curtis, and the brother. What's his name? Is it Alex?
Yes.
Okay, they're twins.
Mm-hmm.
Robin was their younger sister by a year.
Ah.
So
okay.
Robin would now be a junior had she survived,
Mm-hmm.
and Alex and Kimberly are seniors.
Yeah, getting schooled on the movie that I liked, but
Because he doesn't pay attention. ADHD.
yes. Look, she said it. I didn't this time.
Because I know he was going to.
So this is actually played back in the day, like as one of the Sunday matinee horror movies, right? When we only had like the 5 channel options.
That's a good thing to play. Come on, kids. Let's go watch this slasher in the middle of the Sunday.
Look, we talked about this on the episode of 5 Things with Andrew that was on, where, you know, back in the day, WPIX would play, and Fox and ABC and NBC, on Sundays, they would play all movies, and a lot of them were mainly horror movies. So this is where I was introduced to The Thing and American Werewolf in London and Prom Night, because they were on in the afternoon. Now, if you're a fan of Scream, if you're a fan of maybe When a Stranger Calls, the original, not the remake is the bane of my existence, then you're ever going to like this movie, because it's got a lot of good suspense to it. It's got the really outlandish 80s style in it.
Yeah.
So there's disco in it because it is the early 80s.
Yeah, so they're just kind of coming off that disco era. So there's definitely still some of that going on. And it's also like a whodunit, and people like those.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta guess who the killer is.
Yeah.
And you just never know. Is it someone that is completely removed from this situation of the tragic death?
Or is it pretty damn obvious? Is it the pedophile killer?
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm mistaken. There is one body that turns up in Act 2. You don't get to see that person killed. It's just a body. Mm-hmm. So I don't really count that as a kill. But, so, you know, there's a lot of stuff that unfold here. So you have kids that are just going about being teenagers, and some of them are assholes like we would expect. There's a little bit of a influence by Carrie in this film, because the way some of the male characters are in the film. So if you even like Carrie, then you'll like this film too. But Prom Night is definitely a film that is overlooked. If you buy it on DVD, it's going to be really piss poor quality, because they didn't really take good care of this film, and that's probably why it's been forgotten, because it hasn't transitioned well to HD. Mm-hmm. It is, at the time of this recording, on Shudder. I expect it to still be there for the month of October.
Yeah, and for an early 80s film, the quality was okay on Shudder. Mm-hmm. It was not as grainy as you would expect it to be for a movie from that time, so yeah, don't buy the DVD. Just watch it on Shudder while you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll like this one. So if you like slasher films, if you're looking for something different, and no, this is one. It's not the cheesy high school slaughtering movies that we've seen play out in the later 80s and in the mid 90s.
No.
So this one is taken a little bit more seriously than what we've seen in those. Again, pedophilia, sexual predator.
Yeah.
You know, you don't hear that in the other 80s high school slasher type movies or sorority house murder movies.
No, it was glossed over it, like with Freddy Krueger, right? We never really got to see his backstory until the remake.
Yeah.
Because they glossed over that in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Now with this one here too, I think what kind of ruins the original Prom Night is the two sequels that followed it had nothing to do with the original, and it's about a ghost demon that comes back. I didn't even watch them. So, and then you got the horrible remake that came out in the 2000s, because let's remake all the films instead of coming up with some new ideas.
Why not? No one has any original ideas anymore, and they just remake what's already been done. Mm-hmm. Not saying I hate every remake. We have liked remakes. Even ones where we've liked the original, we've liked remakes. But for the most part, they've sucked.
Mm-hmm. So this one, definitely check out. I'm sure you haven't watched it. If you did, let us know by leaving it in the comments. And since we're talking about a hidden gem out there, what hidden gem horror movies do you know about and that you want to share with everybody? Let us know. Put it in the comments. We'll get time to check it out, and then maybe next Halloween it will be in the list.
Yeah, so that's kind of how it works. If you suggest it, we will check it out ourselves, and then if it's something that we really enjoyed, then it will go on the list.
Yeah, there's a few of them on this list from suggestions that we received over the last year.
There it is.
Mm-hmm. Now, don't forget, it is the quest for 5,000 subscribers, where when you
like
and add a comment, and we hit 100 for each video, you're going to win something. And that could be movie theater swag, and posters, pins, coloring books. There's a lot of cool stuff that we have to choose from. And then when we hit that 5,000 subscriber mark, not only can you say, I helped get them there, but you have a chance to win this box of Strawberries and Scream cereal, which is signed by Matthew Lillard and David Arquette. And if I would have to estimate, this little guy here is probably in the $300 range.
Yeah, I mean, just the cost of getting it to the United States, and then the signatures, of course. Then, yeah, I would probably estimate it at about $300.
Yes, and it is a hot Scream market, so that's what elevates the value.
Absolutely, a very hot Scream market. Obviously, with Scream 5 having come out, and now Scream 6 dropping in just a few months. So, yeah, it's definitely brought it back. I mean, we went to Spirit Halloween today, whole section for Scream again. So, because that's what happens, right? And share too, because that always helps, and then it helps you, right? You get free stuff.
And then you get to learn about a lot of independent artists that are making films that are out there. So you get to hear about Bloody Summer Camp, you get to hear about Scream Test, you get to see the crew from Terrifier that's been here on our channel. You get to hear about Stream, which we just worked on. So till tomorrow on the next 31 Days of Halloween. See ya.
See ya.